Hi, my friend. Okay, we are going to do the perfect pre or post work stretch, especially if you're a desk jockey or a driver, anything that sits. Okay, so come into a comfortable position. If it works to have your legs crossed, that's great. Sitting up on something, of course. Really, all you need for today is a blanket or two, something to sit on. Or if you're sitting on more of a cushion, then you'll want a blanket for your knees. So just let yourself settle in and see how it feels to cross more at mid shin rather than crossing at ankles. So narrow your knees, keep walking your feet in the opposite direction until your knees are more or less over your ankles or in line with your ankles. And then with your hands on your thighs or your knees, you can start to let your eyes close or just let your senses come in. It might be that the eyes soften, and rather than your ears feeling like they're reaching out to receive all the sounds, the eardrums actually, that your canals start to get really deep into the skull. And then we'll just begin a little bit of movement through some seated cat-cow, rolling the pelvis forward and rolling the pelvis back and letting the spine respond to that movement in the pelvis with some undulation, some rounding forward, what we call flexion, and some heart opening, some extension. And if there are other little micro movements or sideways movements that feel good along with this or instead of this, feel free to make this personal. You can move with your breath. We'll just do a few more. Or you could stay in any one place and have a couple of cycles of breath there. So just following your body's curiosity, following any urges or instincts. And then in the next breath or two, bring your pelvis like a bowl to a center place where you're neither tipping the bowl back nor pouring it forward. It feels like there's a balance. And when we find that balance, then the spine rises naturally in the natural curves, in a free, light way. There might be a little shiver when you find it, or a deeper exhale, or just a feeling of being supported. And even though you're listening to my voice, even though there's a screen somewhere, just remembering that you can soften your senses. Pratyahara in yoga, we withdraw the senses. We bring our attention inward, the inner world rather than the outer world. It's so fascinating to notice what's going on inside. So much information. And at the same time, the possibility of quiet, of solace. So now we'll move through some really easy, lazy side bends. Hand comes to the floor, opposite arm up and over. And we're just going to go lackadaisical side to side. Just not really stopping in any one place. It's not like you're trying to land a pose, just creating some movement, some loosening. Letting the breath be easy in and out through the nose. So the next time your right hand comes to the floor, then let's pause. Left arm comes up and over. Let your head hang over your right shoulder. Like let go, not trying to look up or hold the head up. Let the neck go, let the head hang. And then slide that right shoulder down the side of the body, even further away from the ear. Give a little press into your right fingers or right hand on the floor to help you stay connected to your left side seat. And then from the rooting of your left side seat, see if there's a little more length that can come up through the waist, through the ribs, through the outer arm, through the fingers to the right. So now keeping the right shoulder low and keeping the head heavy over that shoulder. Nothing else changes. You just take that left arm back to the left side, turn the palm down, and give a little press as though you're pressing on a big beach ball that's off to your left side. So you're a little heavy to the right, and yet you're reaching and pressing to the left. And you might find that some spontaneous head or jaw movements want to happen here. And turn the chin down or out or a little up. Oh, feeling this in the neck, maybe in the shoulder, maybe all the way to the jaw or behind the ear. And then as your head rolls to center, pull through those left fingers and bring yourself up. You can release both arms and then lift up and back through your Spock ears to bring your head back on. Bobble the head a little bit. Ooh, resonant sensation in the neck, in the jaw. Okay, and then we'll take an easy rotation to the right. Take your left hand to your left knee to start. Just an easy turn. Feeling how the breath informs this movement, this direction of rotation. So you might feel yourself softening out of the twist on the inhale, and maybe finding a little more height and a little more depth, a little more turning on the exhale. But it's all very organic, never forcing. And then if there's space now, maybe that left hand sneaks over to the right knee. Are you still connected to both sides of your seat? Is your face soft? Is there anything to release in the lips or the mouth? Okay, keep your hand on your right knee. Take your right arm up by your ear, reaching to the ceiling. And now we're going to side bend here, but we're going to keep holding onto that right knee. So you're a little bit restricted in your movement. Stay heavy through your right leg, right side seat, as you reach through the left arm. And you could let the head go again or make some little movements here. Now we're going to turn toward the legs. Cross that top arm over the bottom arm. Round your back a little bit. Flare your palms toward the floor. And exhale, press your chest into your arms to spread your arms even further away from one another in opposite directions. So you just keep sliding your hands out past your legs. You're making a cross with your upper arms at your chest. See if you can let the head go. Maybe it rests on the right arm. And a couple of full wide breaths across the back of your body, behind your heart. And then with an inhalation, feel the lightness, feel the lift of that breath. Let it bring you up. And on the exhale, the arms come back to a neutral place and you're in your tall seat again. There's a couple of easy breaths here. You might want to bobble or wiggle. Notice how you feel. Okay, let's try that on the other side. So, nice to give the legs a little break. You could bring the feet to the floor or stretch the legs out. And just use your hands like big loving paws to rub on the knees, under the knees, sides of the knees. And then we'll come in with the other cross, which is probably your more unusual cross. And it might look different. It certainly might feel different, and just that's totally fine. Okay, and then we'll start with a few of those seated cat-cow movements again. Rolling the pelvis back, rolling the pelvis forward, and letting the spine play along. This is such a simple movement, and yet it involves the pelvis, so it affects the hip sockets, which feed into the legs. The spine, all parts of the spine get to have a little flush here. The shoulders, the shoulder girdle, which includes the collarbones and the shoulder blades, and then even the shoulder joint as you're moving your arms a little bit. So it's such a simple movement, and yet it can really create some freedom and fluidity in the spine. And then bring yourself to that centered place where your bowl feels balanced. And we'll do just a couple of those side bends again. Easy movement. No particular goal other than to feel, other than to make space. And then when your left hand finds the floor, right arm is up and over, pause. Give a little press into that hand on the ground and reroute through your right side seat. Let your head start to hang. You can let your jaw hang, let your face hang. And then slide that left shoulder down away from your hanging head. Maybe you find that the chin wants to turn, or little jaw movements. There are muscles of the neck that attach to the mandible, so moving your jaw can certainly create the potential for release in the neck. And then with the head heavy, take the right arm up and over to the right. Turn the palm down and press. Reach out. Now it's natural here for the head to want to be more alert and work a little bit. Let's see if you can keep reminding the neck to let go. And you feel that increase in distance from your fingers to your skull or your jaw. Using the exhales in particular to foster that release of tension. And then roll the chin down over the chest as you pull even more through those right fingers to bring yourself up. Hands to the thighs, up and back through your Spock ears. Go really slowly here. And then bobble. Ooh. Noticing what it's like on this side. Okay, and then we'll come into this rotation just to see what's happening over here on the left. So right hand starts on the right knee. Your left fingers can be just behind you, maybe a little bit to the side, just a gentle support. And remembering that we're starting gradually. So, it's so tempting to want to use the arms and pull and come right into whatever maximum is today. But let's see if, in deep respect and with great care to our bodies, we can just be a little more curious, a little more gentle, loving. Let the breath be a part of this exploration. Maybe now that right hand feels inspired to come over to the left leg. And so it's more that you're supporting the turn that's already happening. You're not making the turn happen with your arms. You're just using your arms to support it. Feeling the shape change with each inhale and each exhale. So keep hold wherever you have, wherever your touch is on this left leg. Keep hold there. Your left arm comes up to the sky. And then we're coming into that side bend over here. And it's really easy to sort of topple over to the right. So see if you can keep some connection through your left side seat. Keep that left leg heavy. Notice what the neck wants here. So maybe the eyeballs want to look up or, feel like they should be somewhere. But with a soft gaze or with closed eyes, what does the neck want? Where is the breath guiding you? And now we're taking that top arm and we're just crossing it over the bottom arm. Now you have crossed upper arms. On an exhale, press your chest into that cross of the arms and spread your arms even wider apart on top of the legs. How much will the head let go here? Can you find a little pillow somewhere, maybe with that left arm? And feeling the expansiveness of your breath across the back of your body. Using the lightness of an inhalation to uplift you back towards center, and then exhaling, hands find the thighs, soften through the neck and skull again. All right, if the eyes are closed, let them blink open. Ooh. Okay. Just a few shoulder rolls. Super easy, sloppy, scribbly shoulder rolls. Shake out your hands. Couple things for the hips. So let's lift the knees again. Again, you could either stretch the legs long or just have the knees bent and up. Rub all around the knees. Backs of the knees. Okay, so a couple of things. You can stay on your lifted seat. We're going to come into a little bit of like a swizzle, kind of like one of those yard whirligigs with the legs. So your right leg is bent just about at a 90, and that leg is open like a kind of like a Baddha Konasana, and then the left leg is also bent about at a 90, inner knee is on the floor. And then you'll just turn toward the right and maybe even start to walk out walking a little further toward that end of the mat. You can make some little movements here. I like to have a little sway or a little swagger. And it's easy here for that left hip to want to come with you, to be a little pushy, but instead see if that left hip can actually sink back. Can it get heavy? Okay, then we'll come upright, turn through center, lifting the legs, and you might need to adjust your seat or where your feet are, and coming over to the other side. And then the hands come down, and you can walk a little bit to the left, sway around. You can walk further back, you can walk further forward. So again, trusting your curiosity here. Giving a little sigh to that right hip. Let it sink back. Staying wide through your shoulders and spacious through your mouth and jaw. And then walking the hands back in, bringing yourself back through center. Okay, so I'm on 2 blankets. I'm actually going to come onto 1 blanket. I'm tossing this other blanket away because I'm going to turn back to this right side, but this time I'm actually going to turn into a lunge. So I'm going to have my knee, just because I have a wood floor, I'm going to have my knee on a blanket. If you have carpet or a little more padding, then you might not need the blanket. Both hands to the floor inside of that right leg. Now let's just move around a little bit, moving the hips, stirring around. If you have blocks, this is a great place to have your blocks. I didn't mention that, but I have mine right here, so I'm going to grab them. And then let the hips glide down and forward. And you can let the chest come a little bit more upright, almost like it's moving forward through the arms. And your long turtle neck, reaching out of the shoulders. Keep a little tuck of the chin so the back of the neck stays long. So this is a nice stretch for the front of the left thigh, a place where we can get a little bit bunchy sitting all day. And then pull the hips back until that front leg almost straightens, or maybe it straightens all the way. And just fishtail your hips side to side, like you have a big tail and you're waving it side to side. So interestingly, the hamstrings they also get shortened when we're sitting, mostly because we don't sit well. But the front and the back of the leg suffers. Okay, and then coming back toward the seat. And then you can just take that right leg back and we'll actually just walk around on the knees to the other side. Bringing your left leg forward. Starting by stirring around a little bit, exploring. I have both arms inside of the front leg because that gives me a little more room. If you like having the hands straddling the front foot, that's totally fine. And then again, inviting the hips down and forward, just like a sigh. Like, maybe the chest lifts, the neck is long, the shoulders are low and wide. And just making it easy, right? This isn't Olympic lunge. This is just easy does it lunge. And then pulling the hips back, especially that left sitting bone. Pull that left sitting bone back. And then you can fishtail the hips. Your front foot can either be flat on the floor or you could lift to the heel. When you do that, you'll get a little more in the calf. If the foot is down, you get it a little more in the top of the foot and the front of the shin. So they're both great. And then coming forward again, just enough to bring that left leg back. Blocks can be off to the side. We're going to come back to a seat and into a straddle. So legs come out in a big straddle. Again, just easy, not like your maximum, but just something easy. Your knees can always stay soft. Sometimes I'll even put blocks or rolled towels underneath my knees if they're not really happy with being straight. So finding again that uprightness. So if you need to have your hands behind, especially at the beginning, to get that little rock of the pelvis forward, it's really easy here to roll back and to have more of that kind of roundness of the back. Let's see if we can come into more of a neutral spine where we feel that uplift. Having the support of the arms behind will make that a little bit easier. But I also want us to build some upper back strength. So once you think you've found that neutral place, and you feel the upper back moving a little bit in. So take care that that's not the lower back thrusting in or even the middle back thrusting in, which will just kind of flare the front ribs open. It's really the upper back. So it's more subtle, but you'll feel it. It's like, oh, it's a little bit of knitting together, tethering together. And once you have this uprightness, see if you can let go of the support of your hands behind you. Maybe your hands rest on your thighs. Because once we start to come forward with the arms, what tends to happen is we round the shoulders and the upper back forward again, right? So let's stay upright for a few breaths. Not necessarily pulling the shoulders back, but feeling them getting really wide. And now from here, again, your knees can stay soft. From your hip creases, tip a little bit forward. Keeping that length in the spine, keeping the upper back moving into the chest. And then when you get to the end of your tipping range, it's not going to be very far. Then, now, let's let the spine round a little bit and walk the hands out. So it's not that it's bad to round the spine in a forward bend. We just want to make sure that we're not doing it all the time and that we're not doing it solely, or really even mostly, in the upper back. We want it to be a little bit more balanced and graduated through the entire spine. So here you could actually think of curling the pubic bone up toward the belly button, or you might think of sending your sitting bones towards your knees. It's a very odd instruction, very odd feeling, but we're trying to get a little bit of roundness at the lower back. Then once you have that, or you imagine having that, you can lift the chest a little bit. And then we have more of a gradual curve through the whole spine. And then walking the hands back up. Okay, last thing before we take a little mini rest. Hook the insides of your knees, coming into Baddha Konasana. The feet can be anywhere from a foot or even further in front of the pelvis, or you could pull them in to where they're quite close toward the pubic bone. It'll be a slightly different stretch, a little more hamstring versus a little more groin. So you can kind of feel into what your body wants today. And then we'll have a little bit of lean here, just a slight lean. And then take your right forearm or even elbow, if it'll get down there, in front of the right shin and open out to the left side. Again, let's let the head go. And then turn through center. Over to the left, either the forearm or the elbow in front of the shin. So you have that little bit of lever to open out through the right arm. And that arm is connected all the way into the center of the chest. So you're not just moving the arm, you're really moving your lung, your heart. The head hangs the other direction. And then come back down. Walk up. You can stay here in Baddha Konasana, or you could cross the legs again. We're going to do my favorite hand and wrist release because it's so important, to get some stretch and mobility here with all of our typing and phone holding. So take the backs of the hands together out in front of you. And then left comes over right. Now your palms are toward one another. Interlace your fingers. And then bend your elbows. Your knuckles come towards your chest, maybe up towards your chin, maybe even a little bit forward. Ooh, it starts to get warm very quickly. The shoulders stay low and wide. The neck stays easy. Face stays easy. So this is one that can have a lot of ache to it. It's one that you can stay in a little longer. Sometimes I do this in bed in the mornings, and I'll just let my arms relax, like my upper arms are sort of resting on the blanket on my chest. And I just let the arms be heavy. The forearms and hands heavy away from the shoulders. And this is a little bit more of a fascial connective tissue stretch as well as muscular. So that's where that ache can come from. Let's go ahead and release, turning the knuckles back in and down and out. Unlace. Oh, wiggle your fingers, roll your wrists around. Oh, good time to make a face too. Whew. And then let's come back in. Backs of the hands. Right over left, interlace. Bend the elbows. And then knowing, just anticipating that this side will be different. It will feel different. The range of motion will be different because you have totally different patterns and habits. I mean, we have a dominant arm, dominant hand. And so it has different muscular strength and different flexibilities. So even different range of motion. So just knowing that, not trying to make them the same, not thinking that something's wrong, everything's fine. And just letting gravity do the work here, letting your breath support you. I like to bobble or sway a little bit just to keep things really fluid and soft. Couple more breaths. If you have one side that is markedly less mobile, that might be an invitation to give this release to that side throughout the day, maybe just even once during your workday. And then let's unravel this one. Oh, and giving the fingers a wiggle, roll the wrists. Oh, goodness. Shake that out. Okay, so we'll have just literally 2 minutes to lie down. Help your legs together wherever they were. Maybe one more rub of the knees. Okay. And then coming down, just again, really short, but so good to let the body have a moment to integrate, to feel pause, to feel effortlessness. You could keep your knees bent with your feet on the floor, or you could stretch the legs long. And just letting your attention, letting your breath really drop right in this place of quiet, this place of pause, sacred pause. And remembering that we can take these sacred pauses throughout the day. They don't have to be reserved for a formal practice or to your yoga mat. We can access ways to care for our bodies, care for our minds and our spirits anytime. Feel the support of the floor. The feeling of solid ground underneath you, steady, unwavering. Let yourself rest fully into that support. If there's any lingering tension that you can identify around the eyes, the tongue, in the deep belly, anywhere at all, give it the possibility of softening with your next 3 exhales. Just know that it's possible for that tension or that grip to release any amount. And after that 3rd exhale, bring some curious movement in. Maybe there's a deeper breath. You might find yourself stretching long or curling up into a ball. Eventually rolling all the way over to one side. Pausing. Find that pause, that sacred pause, even here in this moment. Not a transition, but an actual place. And then using your top arm for support, let your head hang, let your neck be soft, and create a seat for yourself. Back where we started. Hands can come onto the heart or together in front of the heart. And acknowledging this threshold, this moment of stepping from this time of care, this particular way of caring for yourself, and this part of your day out into the rest of your day. Thank you for your practice. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you soon.